Hello dear students, today we are starting our first chapter from economics, that is, what is economics. Let us understand the subject, what it actually means for you all. Economics as a subject has assumed great importance in the field of social science. In our day-to-day life, we use a lot of economic concepts such as goods, market, demand, supply, price, inflation, banking, tax, lending, borrowing, rate of interest, etc. Similarly, we take economic decisions related to the distribution of our income to purchase various goods. Making a budget to do some work, taking up a job to earn, withdrawing money from bank, etc. We also observe and get information on the economic situations of our society or country, foreign country and the world. So economics is a subject which gives us a clear concept of our day-to-day life. Like we have got a lot of things what we keep doing, like we buy goods, we buy grocery, we go to market, demand of a particular product, supply from the retailer or a manufacturer, price, inflation, banking, tax, lending, loans, borrowing money from others or the bank, rate of interest. If you're taking a loan from a bank, you have to give a particular rate of interest at certain percentage. Similarly, we take economic decisions related to the distribution of our income to purchase, like various goods we buy. Then making a budget, we will have a budget, especially your parents will be very well aware of it, how to make a budget for their monthly expenses. Like you have your groceries, you have your phone bills, you have your electricity bills, water bills, rent and so on. And to meet those particular expenses, we also take up our jobs to earn so that we can get some money to live our life happily. Withdrawing money from bank, etc. We also observe and get information on the economic situations of our society or a country or a foreign country and the world as well. So we will come to know all these things in this particular subject called economics. Now let's see what are the objectives. Coming towards the objectives, we see that after completing this lesson, you will be able to know the meaning of economics, explain the important branches of economics, distinguish between positive and normative economics also. So let us see what is the meaning of economics in our life. Economics is a vast subject. So it is not easy to give a precise definition or meaning of economics. So we will not be having a particular statement or a particular definition which can be defined or explained what economics is actually. As it is scope and the area it covers are very large, because the scope of economics and whatever things we are going to cover are very large. Ever since it emerged as a separate branch of study in social science. So social science is a subject where we have got many other subdivisions of a subject, but economics comes out of that particular subject and becomes a subject by itself, not a topic anymore. Various scholars and authors have tried to give its meaning and objectives. So many people have written their own experiences on going through the economical conditions or looking at the society's thing, and they have given their own definitions, their own meanings and their own objectives for the subject economic or a topic economic. It should be noted that with development of time, the civilization of definition of economics has undergone modification and change. Let us focus the major ideas involving the meaning of economics below. So let us see what are those particular definitions as per the time and civilization which has come to our notice. First thing what we see here is Many scholars and authors in the late 18th and early 19th century believed that economics is the science of wealth. So according to them, economics means science of wealth. Now let me tell, wealth means money. These scholars are called the classical thinkers. So classical thinkers, when we say, because this is coming from the 18th and 19th century, so that becomes the classical over here. Those particular authors are called as classical thinkers. They viewed the economic deals with the phenomenon of wealth, which includes nature and causes of wealth, creation of wealth by individuals and nations, etc. So according to them, economics is science of wealth, and wealth is again subdivided, which includes nature of cause of wealth, creation of wealth by individuals and nations, how they are gonna earn the money, and what are the creativity they are gonna involve in producing or generating money from various phenomena of day-to-day life. The problem with wealth definition was that it did not talk about people who had no wealth. So the only problem what they faced during the 18th and 19th is that the definition never spoke about those people who didn't have money with them. No wealth is, as I told you, wealth means money. They did not speak about this particular people. Having wealth and not having wealth divided the society into rich and not rich or poor. So those people who had money, they were divided as rich people, and those who didn't have money, they were divided as not rich or poor. So many scholars in the early 19th century thought that economics should address the issue of welfare of society. So later in the 19th, the scholars start thinking that economics should address the issue of welfare of society. So it's better, instead of dividing the people into rich and not rich, it's better we come to a particular conclusion of welfare of society and not just wealth. Accordingly, economics was seen as science of welfare. Welfare in both quantitative and qualitative in nature, consumption of goods and services. So later the welfare started a particular thing called quantitative and qualitative, which means quantitative means quantity, that is number of production, qualitative the best quality of in the nature, consumption of goods and services, increase in per capita income, etc. are quantitative aspects of welfare. Living in peace, enjoying leisure, acquiring knowledge, etc. are qualitative aspects of welfare. As science of welfare, economics was said to be concerned with the quantitative welfare only because it can be measured in terms of money. So here further we described that quantitative and qualitative into a very different way. That was, those people living, consumption of goods and services was increasing the income, that is quantitative. The quantity as it was increasing, they started getting the per capita income, and qualitative was considered as living in peace, enjoying the leisure time and acquiring knowledge were etc. were the qualitative aspects of welfare. As science of welfare, economics was said to be concerned with the quantitative welfare only because it can be measured in terms of money, which means when they started getting money from a quantitative branch, that was by sales of goods, by providing services, they started earning money. So that particular thing was measured as quantitative welfare only, and qualitative was just about living their life in happy, luxurious way and acquiring knowledge and all those things, which gave a benefit to an individual but not to the society. The welfare definition of economics explained only the material aspect of welfare, but people want both material goods and non-material services. Since resources available with every individual or society are scarce, people try to achieve their goals by alternative use of these services, which they do by making appropriate choice. So the next what we saw was people wanted material things as well as non-material things, because they understood to live in a society only materialistic things will not gonna help, or only non-material things will not help them out. So what they thought was they want material as well as non-material things. Now in the above paragraph, as we read, that goods and services can be considered as material things, living in peace, enjoying leisure time, acquiring knowledge can be non-materialistic things for them. Since they understood these both things are important to them, so what they did is they started making an appropriate goals so that the people according to their standards of lifestyle can choose what they want. So the choice was left up to the people as per their will and wish. So economics was treated as science of scarcity and choice. So later they made economics as science of scarcity and choice. As science of scarcity and choice, economics studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and means, which are scarce and have alternative uses. So economics was further given a new era, that was science of scarcity and choice, where the people started the human behavior. They started economics further started studying about human behavior as a relationship between ends and means. Ends and means is, let us study in the next paragraph what it means. Now here it is. Here ends imply means wants, scarce means imply limited resources. So according to the scarcity definition, limited resources can be used alternatively. Take the example of production of two goods, cloth and wheat. We cannot produce unlimited amount of cloth and wheat with limited amount of resources. So here we studied two particular letters, that is end and means, which means ends means wants. Wants is what people want to survive and how they want to live. Scarce means limited resources. In the limited resources, how we can fulfill or reach the goal of satisfying human life. So here they have given a very beautiful example. Listen to it very carefully and understand. So they wanted to put this particular wants and limited resources in an example. Take the example of production of two goods, cloth and wheat. We know cloth and wheat both are important for us. Cloth we need it for our body, wheat we need it for our stomach, for our food consumption. We cannot produce unlimited amount of cloth and wheat with limited amount of resources. See, when particular resources is limited, we can produce a limited particular product only, let it be cloth or a wheat. But here they expect us to produce unlimited amount of cloth and wheat with limited resources. So let us see what happens next. The resources have to be divided to produce these goods. Let demand for one of the goods, say wheat, increases, so it has to be produced in large quantity, for which we need more resources. So at a time we can produce only one particular good, which goods, for example, we will take as wheat. Wheat increases, so it has to be produced in larger quantity, for which we need more resources. But given that resources are limited, we can produce more wheat only by withdrawing some resources from the production of cloth and putting them in production of wheat. As a result, cloth production will fall and wheat production will increase. In this example, we have two alternatives. So, here what has happened, the demand was given that they produce unlimited cloth and wheat. But here we had to focus only on one product for getting unlimited production. So what they did is, they wanted to concentrate on wheat. If they want to increase the production of wheat, that can happen only by withdrawing some resources from the production of cloth, by which the putting this particular cloth production on hold or dropping the production of the cloth, they could increase the production of wheat. So here one product had to compromise for getting a higher production of a different product. So in this example we have two alternatives. Let us see what are the alternatives. Keep producing the same amount of cloth and wheat. Produce more wheat due to increase in this demand, thereby decreasing some amount of cloth. So either by receiving that particular limited resources, we produce both the products, or we produce more wheat due to increase in its demand, because the demand for wheat was very high. So they had to make a choice of increase the production of wheat by decreasing the amount of cloth. So they had to compromise on the production of cloth to fulfill the demand of wheat higher production. Since the economy wants more wheat, the study of economics tells us how this problem can be solved with limited resources. In the 20th century, the objective of achieving growth and the development of the entire economy gained momentum. Role of the government in economic growth and development became increasingly important. So economics no longer remains limited to individuals' decision making and use of resources only. Its scope has been expanded to increase production and consumption of commodities over time, so that the economy achieves growth and development. So later in the 20s, the objective of achieving growth and development of the entire economy gained momentum. So they wanted, the economic went on a higher priority. Role of government in economic growth and development became increasingly important. So here the government started its interference in the economical growth and development. So economics no longer remained limited to individual decision making and use of resources only. So the decision of the government had to make that particular decision so that the resources are not only one source of income to the country. and that was not remained limited to one particular person's decision. It increased the decision of people as well. Its scope has been expanded to include production and consumption of commodities over time so that the economy achieves growth and development. So including the production and consumption of commodities. Commodities in the sense we can call it as any particular product which is resourced by the production and sales. Commodities can be considered as anything. That can be your food grains, your clothes, your houses, or anything over time so that the economy achieves growth and development. So later, as the production and consumption was done by the people, consumption was also, but consumption in the sense who has made use of those products, consumption of commodities over time so that the economy achieves growth and development. Now here we will see certain examples as well. So economics is treated as the science of growth and development. So later economics started to be treated, that is in the 20th century, economics was treated as the science of growth and development. It started simultaneously increasing the growth and it started the development of a country and a society as well. In fact, it is true that nowadays people talk about well-being of individual and the whole nation. It is understood that for an individual to be able to satisfy his or her wants, it is necessary that the whole economy must grow and find proper mechanism to distribute the benefits of growth among the individual citizens. So here we need to understand an individual satisfying wants, like what an individual person wants and how it can increase the economy. So we need to understand how we must grow and find proper mechanism distribute the benefits of growth among the individual citizens. So performance of the economy is very important in terms of use of its resources and production and distribution of goods and services. The economy must allocate its resource among various alternative activities, ensure the efficient use and find ways as to how they would grow for further development of the economy. On this basis, many economists in the world have performed well. So to increase the various alternative activities, ensure the efficient use and find ways how they can fulfill the demand of people, how they can grow for future development of the economy. On this basis, many economies in the world have performed well by doing certain research, finding out how a person, what is the need of a person, how to fulfill his her demand, what are their ways of thinking, how the product should be there. Many things involved in the growth. Now for example, let us see what it is. For example, the USA, European countries, Japan, etc. are called developed economies because they have achieved higher level of income for their citizens. Our Indian economy is developing economy because many of its citizens are still poor. A study of economics tells us the state of our economy and guides us to achieve higher level of growth and development. So as I told you earlier, a country's development depends on the economical condition of the country. Here what we see is in this example, USA, European countries and Japan are called as developed economic countries because they have reached the level, so they know what is the demand of people, what they have to deliver to the people, and how it is their economical thing. Consider a lot of things like education, jobs, what is your per capita income, how you are spending your lifestyle and everything. These all countries are developed countries. Unlike our country is still developing country, it is developing economy because our citizens are still poor. Everybody is not having its own house, everybody is not having a job, everybody is not being educated. So these are certain drawbacks what our country faces, and you people are very well aware of it, and you see in your daily life also, no? You have certain people in your area, near your houses, or some relatives also. You people are studying, you are getting educated, but some people are there of your age only, but they have not gone to school. We lack in studies here. You see some of your own friends, families, neighbors, relatives, mother, father both are working, but in one family only father will be working or only mother will be working, or there will be nobody working. So different situations in different scenarios, it makes a lot of difference. It doesn't contribute the required amount or required satisfaction to the human life, so that it is called as a developed country. So these are some backgrounds, these are some examples what I have given you earlier, so take it as an example only. A study of economics tells us the state of our economy and guides us to achieve higher level of growth and development. So if we want our country also to be a developed country, everybody should be educated, everybody should have a job, everybody should have an own house, everybody should have a own vehicle, XYZ. So many things contributes. When everybody is educated, everybody is having a job, and everybody is having a moderate lifestyle, which will obviously help us to be considered or known as a developed country in a later date. So this is the reason why economics is important, and why it is important to study economics is to understand the basic development of your country, society, or an individual. Okay. Now fifth point in this is economics of late 20th century have also started talking about welfare of future generation and protection of natural environment. So here we consider a lot of things. Economics who are of late 20s, no, they have also started talking about welfare of future generation. Future generation is what? You people who are now in your 10s, PUC, degree, you people, and those who are below your classes, you know, everybody is being considered as a future generation. And protection of natural environment, because nature is really important. Doesn't matter in what way, but it also plays an important role in economics. So for example, we have our forests. It's our duty to protect our forest. Our rivers are there, we waste so much of water. We will not have water, but while washing face, by washing clothes and all, which we can use it for 2 buckets, we take it like 4 or 5. If there is water running in a tap, after a certain time or 1 or 2 days, you people will be so happy and you forget to even close the tap, which I always keep telling you people. Always remember to make a proper use of your natural resources. What we have today, maybe we might not have that tomorrow. So as a generation of the country, you are responsible to take care of all these things. Hence economics is also treated as science of sustainable development. So economics is very important for us in all means. Now they started treating economics as science of sustainable development. To achieve higher level of growth and development, economics around the world have been exploiting natural resources and polluting the environment. Consumption of goods and services have been resulted in loss of wastages. Note that some resources like mineral oil, forest and depleting fast because of their rising consumption by present generation. So future generation may be left with limited or no resources. It is our moral duty to use these available scarce resources judiciously, efficiently, and ensure welfare of our future generation. So here in the last few lines what we are studying is consumption of goods and services have resulted in lots of wastages. Note that some resources like mineral oils, for example, you know that petrol we get it from the earth. Mineral oils, forests and forests are depleting fast because the consumption of this particular products have become so high in the present generation that everybody fears this particular resources will be available or no in the coming few years. So we need to use all these resources in a very judiciously, efficiently, and ensure the welfare of the future generation. Now let us study what are the branches of economics. Before going to that, I'll just have an overview of what we have studied. We have studied meaning of economics, and we have seen that in the 18th and early 19th century, economics was called as science of wealth. Then later it was considered as science of welfare. Later it was treated as science of scarcity and choice, where the people can choose their own luxury or the service. Later in the 20s, economics was considered as science of growth and development. Then later, after a few years in the 20s, they again considered economics as science of sustainable development.